Joining us now is OjyOkpe with stories trending around the world. Hello, Jinx.
Good morning, Dr. Bati. How are you today?
I'm good.
Good morning, Ayo.
Good morning,
Fantastic. Good morning, Rufai. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I forgot my puppy. I'll get it tomorrow.
Good.
Well, all right. Good morning to you, viewers. Here are some of the stories that are trending across the globe. In the United Kingdom, the Bank of England on Monday unveiled the new look banknotes featuring the image of King Charles III. The portrait will be the only change of existing designs of 5, 10, 20 and 50 pound notes, which will go into circulation from mid-2024. The country's central bank says existing notes will still be accepted in shops after the new notes begin to circulate. Queen Elizabeth II was the first and only monarch to appear on circulating Bank of England notes, started in 1960. In the United States, former Hollywood film mogul Harvey Weinstein was found guilty on Monday by a Los Angeles jury of rape and 2 sexual assault charges involving an accuser known as Jane Doe 1 to protect her identity. The 70-year-old Oscar winner, who is already serving a 23-year jail term after he was convicted of rape and sexual assault at his first trial in New York, is now facing up to 24 years in prison. In South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa on Monday was re-elected leader of the governing African National Congress to wild cheers from his supporters, despite being dogged by allegations of money laundering and a last-minute surge in support of his rival, Zweli Makize, who has also been accused of corruption. The victory puts Ramaphosa in pole position to lead the ANC in the 2024 election.
And for Comrade Ramaphosa Cyril, his total is 2,476.
Under sports, Real Madrid striker Karim Benzema announced his retirement from international football on Monday, less than 24 hours after France's dramatic defeat to Argentina at the 2022 World Cup final in Qatar. The French international announced the decision on his 35th birthday, stating that he made the effort and the mistakes to be where he is today and is proud of it. Benzema made his international debut in 2007 for the Les Blues, scoring 37 goals from 97 appearances. He has won 23 trophies with Real Madrid, including 4 La Liga, 2 Copa del Rey, and 5 UEFA Champions League titles. Then, Argentina's World Cup winning captain, Lionel Messi, on Monday was named BBC World Sports Star of the Year for 2022. The 35-year-old led Argentina to their first World Cup triumph in 36 years in Qatar, adding football's biggest prize to a list of his trophies, which includes 7 Ballon d'Or titles, 4 Champions Leagues, 1 Copa America, 10 La Liga titles with Barcelona, and a Ligue 1 crown with Paris Saint-Germain, cementing himself as one of the greatest footballers of all time. Finally, under entertainment, Nigerian Afrobeat star Ahmed Ololade, who goes by the stage name Asake, is having to deal with the death of another woman, 23-year-old Gabrielle Hutchinson, who died from injuries sustained during a stampede that broke out at a concert organized by the singer in the United Kingdom. The concert was held at the 4,900 capacity Brixton O2 Academy on December 15th. It was cancelled midway after a crowd of thousands breached the doors of the arena in the stampede. The incident left some of the concert-goers seriously injured, with at least 8 of them hospitalized. The first victim, 33-year-old Rebecca Ikumelo, died on Saturday, December 17th. This is so unfortunate, Rufai. There's a third victim fighting for
your life right now in the hospital. I mean, I don't know, you cannot say you're going to blame the artist for this incident that occurred, because obviously, that place was swamped with a lot of people, and apparently the people that were injured or people that died were at the foyer of the academy.
So sad. I mean, it was supposed to be a very big night for Asake, but it ended in a very sad way. He had to stop the show midway, and there was a lot of crowd problem, really. I think that's about one of the biggest crowd they've seen thus far at the O2 Academy. When that happened, people have died because of the Stampede and all of that. The mayor of London said he was very saddened by the event. It's made national news on the whole of the UK. It is really very sad, and we just pray for the repose of the souls that have been lost. But please, going forward, crowd control is a big thing. It has to be, all the safety measures has to be put in place. And I just hope it's not going to blight Asake's December. He too has come out to, wish those that suffered some level of casualty in this well. But it's quite a very sad one, It's a blight on that very stellar performance. But it's not going to take away the fact that Nigerians are doing great. This is soft cultural power. Nigerian music selling out in the UK, doing quite well in other parts of the world. We're happy about that, but this should never repeat itself again. Absolutely. I mean, this is quite very sad. Very sad.
Dr. Abati.
Well, very sad. 8 persons injured, 2 dead, 1 more person in very critical condition, simply because these persons went to the Brixton O2 Arena to be part of an occasion of joy, of fun. In fact, one of the persons that died was a private security person who had been engaged to be there. And now this has happened. Well, it is important that the police in London are saying that they are already conducting investigations and that they are already looking at various scenarios. And we hope that that will prevent a reoccurrence of this kind of event at that particular venue, and that appropriate lessons will be learned, not just in terms of crowd control, but also in terms of how event organizers match the venue with the capacity of the venue, with the number of persons to whom tickets are sold. Because that particular O2 center, we're told the maximum capacity is just around 5,000 or 4,900.
That's it.
So there was a stampede because, maybe tickets were over, so maybe, but that's the job of the London Metropolitan Police. The other thing to add here is that if this had happened in Nigeria, we would have been saying, oh, this is the typical Nigerian thing. People are cutting corners. But this was in London.
In London, yeah.
A center that we tend to use oftentimes as some kind of major reference. As for Asake's music, well, he's doing very well.
He is. And
I do not think that this will constitute any setback for him. Yeah. It was good, of course, that, the show had to be cancelled, and that, he has identified with the victims.
Absolutely.
But, this is the thing about art. Sometimes it's not your art that is the problem. Sometimes it's the environment of the execution that is the problem.
Yes, you're absolutely right, Dr. Abati. He did commiserate with the victim, and it was good that he came out to, do that as well. May their souls rest in peace. We'll take another story. Reactions are trailing the 2-year prison sentence handed to the Director General of the Peter Obi Presidential Campaign Council, OjyOkpe, by a federal high court sitting in Abuja. On Monday, social media was abuzz after the presiding judge, Justice Ijeoma Ojukwu, sentenced the Labour Party DG for breaching the Money Laundering Act. Okupe was found guilty of 26 out of a 59-count charge proffered against him by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. The judge handed down the sentence after witnesses, including former Anambra Governor Chukwuemeka Ezefe, Okupe's wife and son, testified to his good character. The court, however, gave an option of a 13 million naira fine, that is 500,000 naira for each of the 26 counts, which was to be paid before 4:30 p.m. on Monday. Okupe paid the sum to avoid passing a night in prison.
Please, give him space. Let him talk. Just right, important. Get that to your head. Please, don't harass him here. This is a conference. Like, people should calm down. I beg you in the name of God. Allow him to sort out out himself. By 4:30, if he cannot sort out, then it's a wrong one. Thank you.
All right, let's take some reactions. This is from Rock, who wrote, "This case is easy because it is not criminal. He didn't steal from anyone. He violated the money laundering laws by receiving cash in excess. The fine is a punishment. Same way if you deposit above 500,000 naira into savings account, you'll be charged 3% of the excess." Well, Daniel wrote, "OjyOkpe has been sentenced to prison for money laundering. The federal government acted quickly, but is yet to prosecute members of the APC and PDP who committed similar crimes, reportedly. Insane. If the Nigerian justice system is functioning, 99.99% of Nigerian politicians will be in prison." Unfortunately, Ayo, this is the rhetoric everywhere, obviously, because, you know, as one of my Twitter user wrote, he did violate the Money Laundering Act, and, you know, obviously he should pay the fine, which he has paid as well. But a lot of people are saying, I mean, why is it that they went to OjyOkpe first?
Right, so that's usually what happens. So we need to make up our minds. On one hand, we're saying that we want public officers want to make, you know, let the EFCC's prosecution prosecute public office holders. And on the other hand, when when one is prosecuted, then people say that, oh, it's a witch hunt. Why did you go for this one? Why didn't you go for the others? But let's focus on OjyOkpe. Why is this trending, and why are people interested in this news? Obviously, number one is that very top on that, which some newspaper headlines mischievously put Peter Obi's ally, sentenced to 2 years imprisonment, because he is indeed, like you mentioned, the Director General of the Peter Obi presidential campaign. And so, because of the fact that Peter Obi's campaign represents for a number of people a hope of a new Nigeria, a deviation from the old and in with the new. So for a number of people, getting this story is a bit of a letdown or a disappointment. However, going back to the first tweet, we must understand what he was in court for. So in 2019, the EFCC filed this suit against him that he collected a sum of, up to the tune of over 700 million. He had taken money from the NSA, Colonel Sambo Dasuki, retired, and the money wasn't recorded. And there are 59 counts. Out of the 59 counts, the courts threw out 33 counts and just was able to find him guilty for 26 out of those counts. He shouldn't have had 10 million naira, which was given at different times during that period, where he didn't seem to pass through any financial institution. And these are the questions you should ask. Another question, again, this brings rise to the CBN's policy on the naira notes and mopping up the naira in the system. I hope the EFCC is also investigating and getting more politicians who have, large sums of money that haven't gone through the financial institution.
Absolutely. Rufai, how do you think this affects the Peter Obi campaign, really quickly?
No, it's out there. The story is out there. When it broke yesterday, Ayo, thank you so much for the stellar job as regards this. And the Peter Obi campaign has reacted. I think I was watching on television when they said they would look at the case and see. It is on them to make that decision if he's still going to remain their DJ or not, because he's going on appeal. So apart from paying the 13 million, he also wants to go on appeal, to be able to clear his name. He was not found guilty for money laundering charges, because a lot of newspaper reported like that yesterday. What he was found for was violating, provisions set aside in the Money Laundering Act concerning a certain threshold. If you take over 5 million in cash, you must be able to report it and all of that. That's what it was found for. But it's on the Labour Party to be able to make that decision. But I think for me, the most important part of this conversation that everybody's been missing is, let's dial back to what happened. The fact that state funds were used in politics. And that is what we should look back at in this country and ask ourselves truly, what kind of country do we want? And it's not only in this case. I'm sure when this administration leaves, we'll be able to hear how much has been used also as regards state funds in politics. And most of the political candidates running, how much they use funds that ought to be used for the state in politics. So I'm not saying politicians cannot run, but when they run, can they raise their funds? Can they go on GoFundMe? But not because they are incumbents, the state fund is being used. And I think that's the grand conversation here about the monies that were released. And when we have this conversation with ourselves, then we can push forward as a country that we truly want to have.
Right.
But the man, the legal terms are out there. He's paid. There was a provision of a fine. he's paid the fine, so he's not going to prison. Because I also hear people carrying all the stories that he is going to prison. He didn't go to prison, and he's also moving ahead to be able to appeal this. That's what is on ground here.
Well, all right. Shall we take another story then? The Minister of Information and Culture, Lai Mohammed, on Monday countered a whistleblower's claim that the federal government did not negotiate with Twitter to lift the suspension of its operations in the country. The whistleblower, a former Twitter employee, Peter Mujzatko, recently made the allegation to the United States Federal Trade Commission. Well, in June 2021, Nigeria's federal government announced the indefinite suspension of Twitter's operation in the country after the platform deleted tweets made by President Muhammadu Buhari, who had threatened to treat members of the indigenous people of Biafra in the language they understand. While speaking at the 13th edition of the administration's scorecard in Abuja on Monday, the minister said there was a long-drawn negotiation between Nigeria and Twitter at the instance of the latter.
A former Twitter staff that Twitter did not negotiate with the Nigerian government in the wake of the suspension of the microblogging site. This claim is so ludicrous that one could just have ignored it. Without mincing words, let me say that there was a long-drawn negotiation between Nigeria and Twitter at the instance of the latter. Following the suspension of the platform on June 4th, 2021, because of its persistent use for activities that are capable of undermining Nigeria's corporate existence.
Well, all right. It's good that the minister has come out to clarify and, counter that accusation. I guess there'll be more to this story as the story unfolds. We'll take our final story with this video showing the newly redesigned Naira notes that are already being counterfeited just about 4 days after they were rolled out to the public by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Let's take a look before we come back for a discussion.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Fake money is in town now. People should be very careful. This is the original one. Why this is the fake one? My wife, she's doing POS. Somebody gave her this money, and we don't know who gave it to her. But we later discovered that it's a fake money. This is original, but this is the fake. It's the new 1,000 naira. You can notice this. This is the original one. With this, why the fake one don't have it? You can see it. So people should be very, very careful. The bad guys are already in town now. They are doing the fake one.
All right, I thought it was important to highlight the story and to see the difference between the notes. I mean, have you received the notes? Dr. Abati, have you gotten one already?
Well, it's difficult to even get the notes.
Yeah?
Maybe if you go to a bureau de change or you go to a party by the weekend, maybe you will get. But let everybody realize that one of the reasons why these new notes were introduced was to check counterfeiting.
Yes.
And the CBN had made a point that, look, this new note is not easy to counterfeit. You can't even photocopy it. And there are features on it. The elevated print, the features, the pictures, and that there are pictures that have been embedded. For instance, if you put a note inside under light, right, the color of a certain line there will change from black to green. So those features are there, and let everyone know this also. It is an offense to be found with a counterfeit note or to produce one under Section 20 of the CBN Act. And it's only the CBN under Section 16, 17, and 19 of the CBN Act that is given the powers to produce notes. As for the earlier one by the Minister of Information, Peter Zako had left Twitter as head of security in 2020. He was not even a staff of Twitter, as at the time in June 2021, we had that issue in Nigeria. He had left like a year earlier. So testifying before the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, how was he commenting on something he was no longer part of? And the minister had already provided concrete evidence of intervention by the Twitter head in the Middle East, Europe, and Africa, and a list of the team that negotiated. Wow. So those are facts. I think in that regard, the Minister of Information is holding the strong end of the weekend.
Absolutely. Well, thank you all for your great
Thank you very
analysis
much.
as always.
Yeah.
Well, that's all I have for you on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.